What's going on, fight fans? I'm back here with another video here set for you guys. Gonna be giving my recap and reaction of this fantastic card of UFC 317. It was literally an abysmal start with having these thrown matches being thrown in there. For the prelims, we didn't really know what we were gonna get. It looked like we were about to get 8 or 9 fights on this card. We eventually got I think 9 or 10, which I mean it filled up a little bit of what the card was. Some, bangers that you expected to be able to happen, and some KOs that you obviously needed to be on International Fight Week for this card. Absolutely delivered. 10 out of 10. Hype and stock has been up for the UFC after, especially from this card. There's not much to be able to talk about besides that. And going into this card, we start off with Renato Deniz versus Alvin Hines. Alvin Hines, man, really, really surprised me. While throughout the entirety of the fight, I did think that he was getting outworked and pretty much just getting outdone on the feet by Jonathan Deniz. He did make things scrappy. He did make things look a little bit better than what I actually thought it was going to be. Obviously, these are big, fat, tubby, slow, dumb, idiot heavyweights. All right, so don't expect the absolute uh, maximum of these guys of their capacity of being a quote unquote athlete out there. But he actually was very how can I put it? Uh he was very okay. He was decent out there. He was doing a couple of things, especially to Jonathan Deniz being a pretty decent kickboxer, coming over from Glory Kickboxing, with having his head straight down the line, landing some nice overhand rights, landing some nice kicks at a few times. But overall, Jonathan Deniz, like I expected throughout the course of the rest of this fight, pretty much just outpointed and outworked Alvin Haynes, with Alvin Hines having his face look like completely disgustingly marked up all over the place. But Alvin Hines, man, he's not that bad. This fight was a little bit better. It was a pretty nice heavyweight scrap, little throwdown that they had at the start of the card. And moving on up the card, we got Jacob Smith versus Nico Price. A little bit disappointed in this one, especially out of Jacob Smith. As we can see, he's got a little bit of battle testing. Well, especially as now as a prospect, with him going against Nico Price in the first round, I thought he was completely dominant. He had Nico out of there a few times, especially at the end of that last first round where he landed like a jab right on Nico, and Nico landed on the canvas pretty badly. Throughout the majority of the round, though, Jacob Smith was pretty much doing what he wanted to be able to do against Nico Price. But Nico Price, being the wily vet that he is, being through the wars, being through the trials and tribulations, knows how to be able to deal with things being hurt and as well as being tired. While Jacob Smith seemed to be able to have some issues with trying to be able to pace himself, looked a little worse for wear, looked like his muscles got all filled up with blood and he couldn't be able to really get past his exhaustion, which I think later down the line, maybe tests like this for him, like Nico Price, even though he still eventually did get the finish in the second round with a rear naked choke. I think later down the line, I mean, a guy like Oban Elliott, who got dominated last week, you got the Canadian dude that just came off a victory, TKO victory. I forgot against who, but I actually had him losing that one. Anyways, he lost to Neil Magny. You put him against somebody like Jacob Smith as of right now. This is just his second fight, I believe, in the UFC, so he's pretty still young in his career. He still needs, some words for word to be able to go through, so that way he can be able to build that type of experience for himself, so he can be able to get through those things and actually get better with those names. Mike Malott is the name that I was thinking about earlier as the Canadian guy. Got that. Not a casual at all. But as of right now, good submission win over Nico Price. Very, very predictable of where that was going to be able to go, because obviously Nico Price is a free win. And if you got that, you need to take that as fast as you can to get that pay win bonus. And moving on up the card, we got my boy Vyacheslav Borchev, man. Got absolutely worked on, dude. He landed a pretty good spinning back kick right to the midsection and then a low kick. And then right from there, Terrence McKenna just jumped on him, cinched in pretty easily and pretty quickly. A nice anaconda choke. And just from there, trying to be able to get into another scramble to try to be able to get out of the submission, he landed himself into a disgusting, nasty, inverted guillotine choke where all the leverage is literally just right on his noggin, and he's kicking and stomping and trying to be able to get out of his way of this submission loss. But eventually he tapped out to Terrence McKenna, who got another victory. I mean, this dude Terrence McKenna is on a 2-fight win streak as of right now. Still not a great like fighter, but his grappling has gotten a lot better. His jiu-jitsu, his game is pretty okay. This guy actually beat Fareziam, who as of right now is on a hot streak in the lightweight division. So Terrence McKenna, I mean, gets another name. Like, I mean, Borchev. I just think on the feet, Borchev would have just annihilated Terrence McKenna, but I forgot that he has no real grappling acumen that can be able to help him against a guy like Terrence McKenna. Anyways, very unfortunate for Borchev, but Terrence McKenna comes out on top in that one. And moving on up the card, we got the biggest and the baddest of the UFC. Tracy Cortez makes her return against Viviana Rajo, and this was a complete domination from the onset. It was very competitive in the first round in terms of the grappling and Araujo having top control, getting some takedowns, having some decent work on the feet. But Tracy Cortez, especially in that first round, reversing position and getting top control, landing more ground and pound, I think she inevitably won that first round compared to what Viviana Rajo was doing. She had a little bit of work again. She leaned her on the fence, and she was doing decent things, but wasn't doing things to really take the majority of the round in that first one, in my opinion. So that's why I gave it to Tracy. Second one, Tracy is a little bit more on the back feet, doing a little bit of work in terms of the kickboxing. Araujo is walking her down, but she's walking into shots because her defense is terrible, and she's not throwing any shots back that are really notable or weren't landing at all. So she was getting outworked on the feet, and then eventually got taken down in the second round to complete that sweep. It's already 2-0 already for Tracy, in my opinion. And then 3-0, it was just a dominant round by Tracy Cortez, getting a takedown, landing the nasty ground and pound, having the hand over the mouth, really just trying to be able to use these wily vet type of tricks in the bag to be able to use against Viviana Rajo, who was pissed towards the end of the fight. But, I mean, you got to do what you got to do to be able to win. Tracy Cortez comes out on top on that one and really looks good in form, mixing in things in terms of just, the arts. You're trying to be able to look like she's going and trying to be able to get a single leg, then putting into the boxing combination with a 1-2 down the pipe. She was landing that a few times in this fight against Rajo. It was looking really well for Tracy Cortez. Moves on up on the rankings and gets another win, gets some momentum under her wing. I really did think that the experience loss against Rose Namajunas was going to be able to do a good thing for her, and it seems like that's just what it was for her, even though Rajo is kind of fodder, if we're going to be honest, even though she is in the rankings, but it is what it is. Moving on up the card, we got a very swift and final knee to the chin from Jose Miguel Delgado to Hyder Emil. On top of that, sprinkle in some nice, nasty ground and pound elbows and the denied real fast, real easy for Hyder Emil, and another great win on Miguel Delgado and his resume that he's got going on as of right now. Him streaking and him, I think every single win that he has as of right now has been by finish. So, great win by him, really moving on up and getting an undefeated guy out of there pretty easily and making what I actually thought was going to be a very torrid pace, in your face. This is really what just Hyder Emil is. He's just walking you down like a freaking zombie, trying to be able to just put his will on you to be able to get you out of there. And I'm actually kind of glad because I don't like the way that Hyder Emil fights. Call me a hater if you want to be able to call me that. But Hyder Emil fights like like the biggest doofus you've ever seen in your entire life. And I'm glad that he got that knee on the chin and he's no longer undefeated, because those type of records and resumes are set for the better parts of the UFC and the fighters that have those type of resumes. If you know what I'm talking about, we'll get to it later in the video. But moving on up the card, we got probably the knockout of the year, the knockout of the decade, the knockout of the century. Gregory Rodriguez completely slumps out Jack Hermanson out cold with a vicious left hook right on the button. Jack Hermanson was having some good work here and there, cutting up Gregory Rodriguez pretty easily with a few shots that he was landing here. Mostly was a jab. He was very frantic and was very scared about anything that was coming back towards his way. Obviously, we already know what the reason as to why it was, because he landed flat on his back, real out cold, unconscious. Everybody was worried about his safety. Obviously, the UFC and the commentary group giving it a lot of updates in terms of him and how he's doing. But Gregory Rodriguez, I mean, man, he didn't even have to pull all the way back, lose any type of technique. Literally just a simple, just shoulders, hips, right into a left hook, right on the button, and put out Jack Hermanson. A great matchup would be him versus Joe Pyer. Pyer coming off the win with Kelvin Gastelum, but he obviously has a loss to Jack Hermanson beforehand. And Gregory Rodriguez is still like towards his way up towards the rankings. Again, I don't think he'll be in the rankings as of right now, the way that he's looking. But I mean, the middleweight, I want to say from like, I don't know, 9 to like 15, those rankings are kind of like, they're very much so mid. They're not good at all. Maybe he could be able to make his way back into the rankings, but I think he needs one more fight to be able to solidify that for himself. And I think a fight with him and Joe Pyer would actually be right in for the rankings for these guys and where they want to be able to go from there. And it would be absolute dynamite with those two guys with the power that they carry in their hands. And moving on now to the main card, it is Pride Month, and we have our boy Payton Talbot doing his thing. I knew, yes, he did get fraud checked. Yes, the hype did get checked by Ronnie Barcelos, and Barcelos is now on himself with a win streak, recently just coming off a win against Cody Garbrandt. But Payton Talbot, man, he's the truth. He is 100% the truth, bar none, negating anything that Felipe Lima, who him and himself is a great prospect in the bantamweight division, moving on up the rankings, doesn't have great wins or great names on his resume in terms of the UFC, but everybody can definitely see his potential and the way that he's moving as of right now. And a lot of people had Felipe Lima actually winning this fight over Payton Talbot. But your boy, credit to myself, super big pat on my back. Yes, I will do that. Thank you very much. Picked Payton Talbot to be able to win this matchup against not Andre Lima, not the flyweight, Felipe Lima, because I did believe in what Payton Talbot was doing, or essentially what he is as a fighter, working on his takedown defense and still being nasty on the feet. I thought eventually he was going to be able to catch Felipe Lima, and that was what's the one thing that Felipe Lima was actually very, very worried about throughout the entirety of this matchup. He was fishing and trying to be able to get takedowns when already Payton Talbot is smushing his face to his crotch, probably liked it, to the ground, probably liked that as well too, and had a position where Felipe Lima was ass to face and face to ass for Payton Talbot. Another thing he probably enjoyed while being in there. No discrimination, no pain. You do what you got to be able to do to get the wins. Am I right? Anyways, first round, very competitive, but very, very weird to be able to score. Felipe Lima has a lot of top control. He's doing a lot of great work, but he's not doing anything again what Viviana Rajo was doing earlier on the card with Tracy Cortez to be able to considerably to be able to say he dominated or he for sure won that round. Payton Talbot reversed a lot of positions, stuffed a lot of takedowns, did some good work on the feet, but Felipe Lima did great work as well. Toss-up round in my opinion. Second round, though, Payton Talbot is now taking advantage of him actually having top control, staying on top position, landing ground and pound, staying and keeping things on the feet, pushing his pace, moving on forward, being the aggressor against Felipe Lima. And while Felipe Lima was actually doing pretty good things on the feet, and this is something his coaches was actually telling him throughout the majority of the fight, he's doing good on the feet and he's actually being competitive. He landed really good shots. He landed a nice 1-2 down the pipe, I believe in like the second or third round. he was doing good work with what he was doing on the feet. He just wasn't confident enough in his abilities to be able to continue things on the feet, knowing that he couldn't be able to use his back burner in terms of his grappling and wrestling and getting things on the ground, and knowing that Barcelo's completely dominated Payton Talbot on the ground, and he thought he can be able to implement that game plan as well and do the same thing and potentially get a finish over Talbot and push himself into superstardom, because Talbot, even though he's on a loss, he's still on the main card as of right now. Felipe Lima thought that he was going to be able to do those things to Payton Talbot and was negated every single time that he tried to be able to do it. Every single moment, every single time he was trying to be able to fish for a takedown. Every now and then, yes, he would get a takedown, but popping right back up was Payton Talbot. On the feet, again, it was very close and very competitive, but Felipe Lima, while he wasn't confident on the feet, the major key and reason is that Payton Talbot's power is 100% the truth. While Payton Talbot has a fighter himself as the truth, his power is the truth. He doesn't even need to be able to throw hard. He doesn't look like he throws hard at all. He's just looking like he's throwing, again, within technique, within his shoulders and his hips, and still it's just landing hard and hard shots. Felipe Lima had like an issue of him trying to be able to throw these like spinning back fists and he's spinning back elbows and all these things, which I think really like negated his offense as much as he can be able to do. But while the first round was very close and competitive and it was really hard to be able to score, second and third round, it's no question. Stuffing all the takedowns, reversing positions, getting dominant positions, landing better on the feet, being the aggressor, moving on forward. Payton Talbot 100% recertified himself as being, with the hype and everything around him, he is the truth. 100%. And could be potentially the future of the bantamweight division, because with a real tough tested win like a Felipe Lima, he can be able to reback his stock once more again. And moving up the card, we got two old heads continuing to be able to ballot it out for their career pretty much, or where their career trajectory is going to be able to go for themselves in the future in the lightweight division. Moik, Renato Moicano versus Beneil Dariush, round by round basis. First round, very close and competitive, but I did think that Beneil Dariush was just edging it out compared to Renato Moicano. On the feet, Moicano was doing a lot better in terms of the hands, but Beneil Dariush was just chewing up that inside low kick. The body kick was working all over. He would shoot the high kick over as well, or he would just shoot the body kick just in general to be able to wear down the arm of Renato Moicano. But again, Moicano was still landing some nice counters here and there whenever Beneil Dariush was throwing his kicks that were pretty effective throughout the majority of the round, which I believe I had him winning, that being Dariush. But then Renato Moicano lands a beautiful right hand right on the chin, drops Beneil Dariush badly. I'm thinking all over again, because the last two fights that Dariush had against Sarukian and Oliveira, he got hit and he was out cold, or he got hit and he was hurt and he was pretty much out from there. I thought the beginning of the end was pretty much going to be over for Dariush, and he's been out for pretty much 2 years. And then from there, they get to a pretty much a crazy scramble of positions where Moicano is trying to be able to fish for a submission, and Dariush is just on his bike, pretty much trying to be able to get out of harm's way. Second round starts. It's a little bit competitive on the feet, but then Dariush gets a takedown, and while he does get a takedown and he's trying to be able to fish for more and more takedowns, having Moicano be super defensive, trying to be able to use a lot of his gas tank and energy to fish off all of these takedowns, Dariush is just hell-bent to be able to take him down. Eventually does, gets top control, doesn't really land any crazy ground and pound or tries to be able to get a lot of submissions because Moicano is defensively very responsible in terms of the ground game. But complete wash because Dariush really just whooped his ass in that second round. Not whooped him, but he dominated the round. Third round, it's on the feet. It's pretty competitive, but actually it's not competitive at all. Dariush pretty much just washes Moicano. Both of these guys are tired. They're old. They've been in there for so long. They've been fighting for quite some time. And again, Dariush is back on chewing up that inside low kick. The body kick is working. He's starting to use his hands a little bit more, standing to connect upstairs, mixing in the takedowns as well. Moicano just didn't do anything. And when he tried to be able to do anything, it was way too late to be able to try to establish a takedown or use anything in terms of his hands. He just got completely washed on the feet and on the ground. He just got showed levels, and overall, Beneil Dariush still at his age, even though with a long time off and the 2 KOs that he's trying to be able to recover off, is just a better fighter than Renato Moicano. And how he couldn't afford to be able to lose, he is now on a losing streak himself. And Beneil Dariush is now back on top, still solidifies his ranking in the lightweight division. I think he's still not going to be with the elite of elite of the lightweight division, but he's definitely not going to be a pushover or easy test for anybody else trying to be able to come up into the rankings. Beforehand, I thought the matchup with him and Mauricio Rufy was going to be something that is going to be able to push Rufy far into the rankings in the lightweight division pretty easily, but now I don't think it's that much of an easy matchup for Rufy, knowing that we haven't really seen his takedown defense as much, know that he gasses out in fights in the Yamas Lawn top one. So it'll be a very tough matchup for Mauricio Rufy, but I mean, you might as well test it out because you never really know. So I think that's the matchup for Beneil Dariush in the future for him. And now moving on to the future fight of the card, we got fight of the year, fight of the decade, fight of the century, and I'll go even further, fight of the millennia. Jesus Christ, what a war it was between Brandon Royval and Joshua Van. I'm not going to go round by round basis with this one because it literally is just a sum of a story between these two guys. No grappling, no takedowns, straight busy, straight work, hands and feet only. And that's exactly what you want to be able to see. And especially at the pace that these boys have and the skill and talent that they have in the flyweight division, it is absolutely bar none one of the best weight divisions of this time as of right now. Almost damn said this generation, but this division is generational in terms of the talent pool that it has as of right now. Literally, number 12 ranked Joshua Van versus number 1 ranked Brandon Royval are fighting for a number 1 contendership. Where have you ever heard beforehand a number 12 ranked dude trying to be able to fight for a number 1 contendership type of shot for the belt? Besides, I don't know, the most recent names that I can be able to come up with is Sean O'Malley when he fought Peter Yan, and that fight, in a lot of people's eyes, was a robbery. But this one is definitely not a robbery. First round, again, I wasn't going to go round by round basis, but I just can't be able to let it go. First round, Brandon Royval is kind of just like really like trying to be able to point decision his way to be able to get a victory, and just tapping with the low kicks, going in with the jab, landing the 1-2, but is getting in and out of there, trying to be real fast, trying to be able to get his combinations off, land really well. But Joshua Van, with the new power that he developed in that Bruno Silva fight, I don't know what the hell he's been eating. I don't know what the hell he's been putting in his body, but it's been working, brother. Because Jesus Christ, the power that this dude, that he actually puts in his body, and especially in his right hand as of right now, it's been otherworldly for Joshua Van, and it really pushes him over the limit of what he really is based on, of what we've seen beforehand in his career, where obviously Joshua Van, the boxing, incredible, technique, incredible, gas tank, incredible, takedown defense, great, the volume, great. The only real thing that he had to be able to really worry about is that he didn't really have a lot of pop in his shots and in his hands. And now it just seems to be the real divider, the real signifier, the real negator, the real difference maker for him to be able to make that leap into the upper echelon of the flyweight division in terms of where he is as of right now. And he just consistently landed this right hand over and over and over throughout the entirety of this fight. Brandon Royval couldn't be able to move out of the right hand if he tried to be able to pay his way to Joshua Van to be able to get out of it. Literally, it was insane how many right hands Brandon Royval was eating. Really, again, I didn't want to be able to go round by round basis because it was really just going to be an overall overarching talk that you're going to be able to go over and over again. First round, I went with Joshua Van based on him landing the more harder shots, the more powerful shots, and while Royval was beating him to the punch with a few shots, they didn't have as much sting. They didn't produce as much damage. And yes, he did land more, but not significantly. Second round, it was different because this is where I believe that Royval and his volume just started to be able to overtake Joshua Van. He started to land a lot more. His left hand started to be able to hit a lot harder. And Joshua Van wasn't taking that type of punishment as easy as he was in the first round. Obviously, you're not going to be able to take the same punishment overall throughout the overarching fight, but it started to be able to have a little bit more sting, as you can tell throughout the end of the fight in that second round. And I just think the volume overall of of Brandon Royval, just pushing a pace, making things dirty, not making things clean and technical, and really looking for counters and trying to be able to outpoint each other or pretty much outland each other in terms of the harder shots. Brandon Royval was just on a mission to be able to just push this pace that Joshua Van couldn't be able to handle. And then you move into the third round, and these guys are just going nose to nose, war to war. You got the low kicks are still working for Royval. The jab, the 1-2, he's landing hooks every now and then, knees to the body. You got Joshua Van landing the side kick, really messing up the knees and the tendons and all the ligaments and Brandon Royval's knees, and really messing up his front and forward leg moving forward, landing low kicks, landing front kicks to the body, landing body kicks. And overall, the boxing of Joshua Van, the left hook and the right hand was in front of Brandon Royval's face throughout the entirety of the fight. And regardless of the knockdown towards the end of the round, and that being in the third for Joshua Van, I think Joshua Van was winning the round regardless of the fact he was landing. Again, it was pretty much similar to what the first round was, but just a more up tempo and more crazy because they were just keeping up this pace throughout 3 rounds, which was insane. Really landing the harder shots, moving on forward, really creating a real problem that Brandon Royval couldn't be able to solve or really push and pesky away Joshua Van because he didn't have enough sting on his shots to be able to push Joshua Van away from him keeping on moving forward. And then eventually you got the knockdown in the third round towards the end of the tail of the fight, and that's pretty much what just sealed the deal for Joshua Van to be able to win the round. Absolutely insane fight. Again, fight of the year, 100%. Joshua Van goes from a guy that was literally unranked this year on a, I think, 5-6 fight win streak as of right now since his loss to Charles Johnson, who knocked him out. And beforehand, Joshua Van was on a 4 fight win streak before he lost to Charles Johnson. So, shout out to Charles Johnson on that one, having a win like Joshua Van on his resume. But yeah, Joshua Van goes from a dude that was literally unranked this year to now being the number one contender going against Alexandre Pantoja or KaraFrance, but we already know the outcome of that. But now, speaking of that, we talk about the co-main event, and that was Alexandre Pantoja, the bully, the monster, the conqueror of the flyweight division, defeating very, very easily KaraFrance. There's not much to be able to talk about this one. It was just a complete work and domination by Pantoja, literally stamping his reign that is just run rampant on this flyweight division, which again has an excess, an abundance of talent that it is insane that he just continuously beat these top guys over and over again. And it just gets to a point where it's like, who the hell is going to beat this dude? First round, they get into a crazy exchange within each other. And then Pantoja then falls into the takedown, gets the takedown, gets back control, threatens multiple times with submissions. And KaraFrance seemingly just rides the round out because there's not much to be able to go to. Second round then starts. Pantoja is on his gas tank fast and heavy, just landing a lot of good shots, landing good shots in combinations to the legs, to the body in terms of the kicks as well, landing some good shots with the hands up top with his jab and right hand. And Pantoja seemingly kind of takes the round off since then because KaraFrance is not offering much resistance where he's throwing shots, but it's very labored, very just I don't know. It was a bad performance by KaraFrance, man. No offense to him. Like you can't be able to say how dude is going with his body and all this stuff, but I mean he just got completely outworked. Where Pantoja didn't really do much the last like 3 minutes of that round against him, and he still lost that round. Third round, pretty much just similar story to what it was in the first, but instead of then threatening with chokes and submissions, Alexandre Pantoja then fishes in a rear naked choke, gets the job done, and finishes KaraFrance in the third round. Just dominant performance, man. Dominant performance. Again, the matchup with Pantoja now is going to be Joshua Van. Joshua Van is known for his disgusting takedown defense. It is super hard to take that dude down. And his boxing is tremendous. He can be able to take low kicks. He can take punishment. I think he's better overall in terms of skill and technique. He's just a very young dude. Great experience win with him and Brandon Royval on his resume. But Pantoja has the experience, the IQ, the championship pedigree, and he's just a monster, man. His grappling and his wrestling is just on another level compared to any other dude that Joshua Van has ever matched up with before. And so Pantoja 100% is going to be the favorite in that one. But man, Joshua Van is putting himself into the fire, and he's gone through it so far. And I mean, before I even left off, I mean Joshua Van literally had a fight 3 weeks ago where he finished Bruno Silva, broke his toe in the fight, and still took this fight on short notice and got the job done against a dude like Brandon Royval, who was the number one surefire contender on a 2-fight win streak, and he still got the job done. It was insane. Insane what Joshua Van has been doing and what he's done tonight and as of recently in his career in the UFC. But Alexandre Pantoja, man, is just, I just think he's on another level as of right now. Even though his endurance is kind of, he does fade. He is more of a sprinter instead of a marathon runner. So maybe there is definitely ways that Joshua Van could be able to win this fight. His takedown defense, again, is insane. His endurance, his cardio, and his volume is great. And now with the power against a Pantoja, chances aren't likely for my opinion for Joshua Van against Pantoja, but there's definitely a way for Joshua Van to be able to win the flyweight belt. And now we move on to the main event, and that was I don't want to talk about it. I really don't. I really don't want to talk about it at all. 100%. But I have to. I have to be unbiased. I have to continue on with the show. Charles Oliveira gets knocked out in the first round by Ilia Topuria. My head said it. My head 100% seen this outcome happening. But my heart didn't want to see it. No. I was in literal disbelief watching Charles Oliveira get flattened out cold by a disgusting right hand right down the pipe that literally just ended Oliveira. Never seen it happen before. Seen Oliveira get chinned and get hurt and get wobbled and get dropped before by Gaethje, by Poirier, by Chandler, by Islam, but never out cold. Never just slumped out unconscious. And that's what happens when you go against Ilia Topuria. There's nothing to be able to say. I mean, Oliveira was heavy on the front foot, you know. I mean, I can't even be able to talk right now. This is insane. He was heavy on the front foot as, you know, the beginning of the fight, landing nasty and hard low kicks on Topuria. And there was one exchange that I did think that was very interesting, where Topuria they were throwing in an exchange, and Oliveira lands this nasty right hand right on the button on Topuria, and Topuria just ate it. He just ate. I'm not gonna say he didn't get stunned or wobbled by the shot, but he ate it. And Charles is known for actually having some actually really good power in his hands. and it was like nothing. Like nothing. Oliveira tried to be able to get a takedown. Uh, Topuria toppled him over and got top position, fighting into his guard. Topuria got inside control, looking for a crucifix, then stood up and was like, listen, I'm not going to play the game with you. This stand up is where I make my money. And yeah, man, a right, a right hook just it's hooks for Topuria. It was a left hook for Max, and it was a right hook for Oliveira and for Volkanovski. He is on a generation, and not in the terms of what we use in like as of right now. This is just a right now lingo. No, he's on a literal generational run as of right now. It is insane the run that Ilia Topuria is on right now. He is for sure one of the greatest fighters of all time, regardless of resume, regardless of title defenses, regardless of how long he's been putting in work into MMA and how long he's been fighting in the UFC and all this other things. If you go to having wins like Josh Emmett and Bryce Mitchell and maybe lesser names like a Jai Herbert on your resume, and you get the title shot and you beat and you knock out a dude like Volkanovski, then go on to beat Max Holloway, who was on like a 3 or 4 fight win streak, and you knock him out unconscious that he's never been knocked out before. And you knock out Charles Oliveira, dude that's been able to go through all the fire, all the trials and tribulations. Again, is chinny dude, but never out cold, and you flatlined him. Oh, my heart was broken. But Ilia Topuria, without a shadow of a doubt, is the best fighter in the UFC as of right now, bar none. He 100% passed the test with flying colors. There is nobody in the lightweight division that could be able to hold a candle right now to Ilia Topuria. Whether it be Paddy Pimblett, he gets put out cold. Whether it's Arman Tsarukyan, who I think has the best chance against Topuria, I still think he gets knocked out cold. Justin Gaethje, who's been fiending for a title shot, even though he definitely doesn't deserve it, he's getting slumped out cold if he gets a title shot. The only worthy fight to be able to match Ilia Topuria up with is Islam Makhachev. And if Makhachev defeats JDM, which within that is a great test for Islam, if he gets through JDM, becomes the welterweight champ, it is going to be hard to be able to get that matchup. It is really going to be able to, really hard to be able to get Islam to drop from 170 to back 155, even though Islam did say himself that he wanted to be able to be a double champ, have double champ status, and go back for the belt and defend his belt as well. Unless Makhachev loses, which brings off a lot of steam to this fight if he does lose before he even gets the matchup against Ilia, even though Makhachev has already lost beforehand. As of right now, he's on an incredible streak with a lot of great names on his resume, himself as well. That's the only way we're going to get that matchup, man. And I think it all finishes the same way. Topuria, with his skill, talent, technique, is just on another level. He has the touch of God. He touches you on your button and you just go out, dude. You just go out. There is no way to go about it. There is no other way to be able to fight against it. There is no negator for Ilia Topuria or Ilia Topuria's power unless Islam Makhachev comes in with a crazy heavy-paced wrestling game plan against Ilia, and he actually does take him down, and it's easy work, and it's... I don't know. He made Charles not look silly on the ground, but he was working with him, and he had top control, and he passed into his side guard was looking and trying to be able to finish in with a submission, and eventually just didn't want to play the game anymore because Oliveira is really, really dangerous on the ground, and he knew he had a better chance on the feet. I don't think there's anybody that's going to defeat Ilia Topuria. Maybe I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. Maybe I'm too much on the hype train. Maybe I'm glazing too much. I just don't see a dude that's going to beat Ilia Topuria ever. Until maybe he gets out of his prime and he's old with age and he's still fighting. But I even doubt that he will be able to do that. I think the latest Ilia Topuria will be fighting is maybe like 31, 32 years old. And then after that, he's probably out of the UFC. Probably not even trying to be able to deal with more damage and be in the fight game anymore. So yeah, that is my review and recap of a great UFC 317 International Fight Week card. Unfortunate for us Oliveira fans of what happened into the main event, but it is what it is. Topuria is inevitable. He is. Like this video if you obviously like this video. Please like this video. I want to be able to have the algorithm knowing about this channel and these videos. Comment your opinions on what you think should be the next matchups for the winners and losers of UFC 317 or anything else about this card. This card was absolutely fantastic. And subscribe, UFC fans. You're here for a reason. You love this channel. I love you that you love this channel. Why not continue with all the love that we got going on? Thank you guys again for watching again, and peace.